TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Today on CityCast Chicago, I know I'm not the only Chicagoan that just ignores recycling. Seriously, as a whole, our city is pretty bad at it. That's the wrong qualifier. We are really bad at it. Like less than 10% of our waste is recycle bad. But in the new year, I'm trying to do a little bit better. That's why we're revisiting our conversation with Axios Chicago's Monica Ang to talk about how Chicago got so bad in the first place and ways to improve our recycling habits. It's Monday, January 22nd. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. I brought you back because you have been so gracious over the last 2.5 years to serve as my personal 311. And now I've got questions about recycling. So welcome back to CityCast Chicago, Monica.
Thanks so much. I am always happy to be your 311, unless you've got a dead animal in front of your house and you need someone to come by with a shovel. I can't do that.
I would never ask you to do that. The big question, why is Chicago so bad at recycling? What are some of the factors that go into our horrendous record?
Well, I have to believe that some of it has to do with our cynicism over a lot of failed programs over the year. Blue bag, blah, blah, blue bin. And then a lot of exposés, you talk to the Department of Streets and Sanitation, and sometimes they'll be like, well, you guys are always doing these exposés, making it seem like we're not doing anything. And like, well, what are we supposed to do if you're not really doing anything? A guy said to me, he said, I've been spying on the recycling bins in Chicago Park districts and seeing that they're just dumping them in the garbage can. And the guy was actually a documentary maker. I said, if you can send me that video, I would love to put it online. So there will be more stories. And I think, as people wonder if this stuff is actually getting recycled, plus a lot of stories that looked at how, certain countries in Asia are no longer taking plastic, I think that really contributes to the cynicism. But that said, other cities are doing much better at waste diversion, especially San Francisco. It all gets complicated. There's something called tipping fees. So how much it costs to send all of our crap to landfills is actually very cheap in the Midwest. And so it's easier just to say, who wants to sort anything? Let's just send it all to the landfill.
Do you have a sense of what the comparable price there is? Like how much are we saving to just dump everything together?
I wish I had the very latest figures in front of me, but every time I do the story, they say, it costs more to divert it, but you have to think about how things are improving by diverting it. So it's better for the environment, and it's better to take this plastic and make it into something else, or this glass and to make it into more glass. So in San Francisco, it costs more to send it to landfills than to recycle it. Here, the equation is different. And so it's much easier for a municipality to say, I want to save money, so just send it to the old landfill. So some people have talked about making it artificially more expensive to send it to a landfill so that municipalities will do the right thing. So there are a bunch of factors that lead us to bad recycling. But one of the factors that we can work on, and maybe the media should play another role, I should do another 10 stories, is teaching people that it can be simple, that's probably going to get recycled, and that don't put this in there, but do put that in there.
When I go Google Chicago recycling history, not only do I get the numbers where we're recycling less than 10%, where places on the West Coast are hitting their 70, 80% marks, but your name come up over and over. You've been writing about this for years and years and years. Why should I care if we're recycling? Like you said, there's so much cynicism out there. How much impact is it having on the environment? If I recycle, will Chicago recycle? Like, why should I be paying attention?
Because it's the right thing to do. I cannot guarantee you, just like the documentarian said, some of it seems to be just dumped in the regular garbage trucks. But theoretically, if it's done right, and I have to believe every time there's a new administration, I say, this is the one that's going to do it right. If it's done right, this stuff, at least a percentage of it, can go into making that next plastic bag or that purse that is made out of, your old Mountain Dew bottle, or glass and aluminum. Oh, please, if you just recycle anything, please recycle your cans, because that is something that where you can recycle almost 100% of it can be made into another aluminum can. And so if we get it right, if the markets for plastic grow again, then this can actually be something that in the ideal world could create a revenue source for the city. It's better than sending it to a landfill, because we are running out of landfills.
I mean, are we supposed to be recycling in Chicago? Is this required by law?
It's not required by law. So streets and sanitation, they take care of everybody who is in anything from a single family home up to, I believe, a 6 flat. Anything over that is taken care of by private haulers. And you can narc out your landlord and say, hey, I'm in a 10 flat and my landlord does not have any recycling. Some people have found there was retribution and their landlord wasn't happy that they were narked out. But you should be able to report your landlord to the city if they do not pay for a recycling hauler. Some investigations of that in the past were finding that the city was not properly fining or effectively or robustly fining and following up on these complaints. But theoretically, every building in the city should have a recycling hauler.
So if your building is taken care of and that's a private place, but for single family homes and 6 flat and beneath, you said that Streets and Sands was processing that?
Yeah, those should be Chicago garbage trucks, but they may not say the city of Chicago on the side. They may say Lakeshore Recycling, because that is now our number one hauler after that huge scandal with Waste Management, where it was seen that they might have a dual interest in rejecting. So when they go and they see the blue bin and they say, okay, so someone put a bunch of spaghetti on top of these pizza boxes and then they smashed up all the glass and then the glass got stuck in the pizza box. They're like, this is contaminated. Guess what? It's going to the landfill. Sometimes it could go to their landfill, which would get them more money in tipping fees. That was the conflict of interest that the BGA reported on.
Have I ever talked to you where there wasn't a conflict of interest, a scandal, some corruption hidden in the numbers or hidden in the history?
I don't know. I hope one day I can talk to you about some good news. But what the biggest problem I see is, and a lot of recycling experts, including the oldest recycling expert in Chicago, see, Ken Dunn, he said the problem is we've got single stream recycling, where we're like, just throw it all in one bin. I don't care if it's glass. I don't care if it's paper. I don't care if it's a tin can. And the problem with that is there is that contamination. We wouldn't have contamination if we separated, if we had multi-stream or at least 2-stream. And that's what Ken Dunn says would make all the difference in getting these commodities to the sorting facilities in such good shape that they actually could make money for the city.
I'd imagine a huge mistake amongst individuals is that we're not even separating it from our garbage, let alone sort of breaking up the different recyclable materials.
And that's what the city says to me. They're like, Monica, I can't even get people to not throw their baby's diapers in here. You really think I'm going to get them to separate paper from glass and cans? I said, well, you can try. Maybe, right? If we can at least start selling these commodities and making this a more successful program. So again, lots of complications.
Get out of the trenches of tedious tasks like managing order fulfillment and start growing your business with ShipStation. They'll help increase profitability by automating your workflow with their simple, easy-to-use dashboard. With it, you can pretty much do everything you need to quickly and easily. Update order information, print labels, compare rates, optimize shipments, and even set up automatic delivery notifications. And it doesn't matter where you sell. Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, ShipStation can integrate pretty much anywhere online. Another great thing about ShipStation? They can help reduce costs with industry-leading discounted rates from some of the biggest mail carriers. You might even be able to get up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. So, make this year your most profitable one yet. Sign up for your free 30-day trial at ShipStation.com and use the code Spotify. That's ShipStation.com with the code Spotify.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
So when we try to recycle, what are the biggest mistakes that we're making as individuals?
Contamination. So, okay, there's a pretty good chance that we could get a stack of newspapers to a paper mill and recycle them. And, there's a lot of confusion around pizza boxes. Some people say, never put a pizza box in. I talked to the experts that say, we would love high quality cardboard. Just make sure there's not a ton of cheese stuck to it. There's that round thing that you get in your pizza box underneath your pizza, and then there's the pizza box. Get rid of the round thing, because that usually has a bunch of globs of pizza, cheese, and sauce on it. But as long as your box is not totally soaked in grease, it is good stock for recycling. People don't understand that. There's a lot of conflicting information about there. So do recycle your cardboard. Flatten your cardboard. Close the lid on the blue bin. If rain gets in there, a lot of that stuff, again, gets contaminated. And so one thing you can't control is your neighbors. So you're perfect at recycling. You're breaking down all your Amazon boxes. You're rinsing out your mayonnaise cans and dumping out all the beer from your Budweiser cans before putting them in. And then your neighbor comes in and throws dirty diapers full of poop in there, or, all sorts of tuna fish all over it, and then smashes a bunch of glass that gets embedded into the paper. Then all the work you've done is screwed up. So those are some mistakes that happen. I don't know. Some people said the way you can get around having your neighbors ruin everything for you is pull your blue bin into your yard, if you have a yard, and then push it back out on collection day. That way, theoretically, your household has its own blue bin. And that way your neighbors can't screw things up for you.
I know it's the right thing to do. I'm just sitting here thinking, I've got to hope that all of the work that I put in is matched by the people. I live in a tin flat, right? There's, dozens and dozens of families who live here. Then I got to make sure everyone in the building, hopefully, is also cleaning and putting their stuff in the recycle. Then I got to make sure that the building is licensing a private company to come and get the recyclable. And then that's going to get to the city or to the company. And then they're just going to one stream it all together. And so at some point, it feels like the work is going to get knocked off of the track. It seems like so many steps to get things right. What are some of the biggest questions you've gotten over the years?
Let me quiz you. What do you do with your yard waste?
You're talking about leaves?
Leaves, grass clippings
from the mowing. Oh,
weeds.
Aren't you supposed to put that in a bag and put it separate? Put it next to your garbages? You're not supposed to actually put them in your garbage can, right?
And call 311 to say, you say,
call
hey,
311.
I've got a bag of weeds next to my garbage can. Can you please pick it up? And okay, here's another quiz. When you recycle, what kind of bag should you put your recycling in when you put it in the bin? Trick question.
You shouldn't. You should just put your recyclables in the bin.
No bag. It's so confusing. They're make sure you bag up your garbage. They always want to make sure bag up your, but do not bag up your recycling. Make sure there's not a single bag. In fact, if we see some plastic bags, they're going to mess up our sorting facility and it might be contaminated. It's all so confusing.
I'm supposed to clean the Italian Fiesta box and then keep it around separate from the trash in the crib until I'm ready to throw the trash. I know I want to do better. I'm not just throwing in a bunch of excuses as to why I'm not going to improve as a recycler. I'm just acknowledging how many different steps there are.
It's confusing. It's complicated. Enforcement is not good. Well, there is a place in North Park Nature Center where Ken Dunn, who's the OG of recycling in Chicago, has a multi-stream sorting facility. And so you can feel really good about yourself. Hey, kids, let's get in the car and let's put all our recycling. All right, that's where the green glass goes. That's where the brown glass goes. Hey, let's put our stack of old New Yorkers over there. And boy, do we feel good about ourselves. And he really does do it. It's had some problems with the city where they said that it wasn't being kept up properly. I think those have been taken care of. And then you can go for a nature walk right there it's the old TB sanitarium, but now it's a nature center after you've done your feel-good recycling. That is one way that I feel confident that stuff is actually going to be recycled.
I mean, how do we know if our recyclables are actually getting recycled?
You can do a stakeout and you can watch as they pick it up and then go to the transfer station and watch when it goes from the transfer station to the facility. Journalists have done that, but are they showing us a Potemkin village? Because you have to go through the publicist. Who knows?
Interesting. We're running out of landfill space. We need to educate the city at large on recycling. Monica, where do we start here?
Well, that's what I'm bothering them about. I mean, can they get consumers to start trusting so that they actually put the recyclables in there and that they're in a condition that can be recycled in order to get it to this facility and start sending out these commodities to hopefully make the city some money back.
So what are you saying to people beyond it's the right thing to do? Sure, we want the city to do better. We want the companies to do better, but we also have to start. What does that look like in your daily practice, Monica? How are you exhibiting good recycling behavior in your own daily life? And how can I pick up on that?
We have a lot of containers at our house. One of them is just for recycling, and it's just a nice handy pail with handles. So we don't put any bag in there, so there's never the bag issue. And it's easy just to kind of walk outside and dump that in there. I tell my kids, rinse it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. They've got machines that can get the rest of that peanut butter out of there. Talk to your neighbors and say, hey guys, we all want this stuff to not be contaminated. So do we all know the basic rules? They might think you're a weirdo. On the composting front, you can do a lot of that at home. You can leave your leaves and your grass right on your lawn and they will compost themselves. You can do a mulch pile. You can have composting bins like we have in our back. There's this new thing called a Lomi that I just bought, and always want to buy stuff, but I can take all my food scraps and put it in basically what looks like a big crock pot. 3 hours later, it becomes dust. It looks like cornflakes, basically, that I can throw in my composter or throw in my garden. That immediately takes away about a third of all of the waste I'm creating in my kitchen. If you can't afford a Lomi, you can probably, compost in your backyard. Just make sure you're balancing it right. My daughter didn't. Boy, did she stink up her house back in college. All her roommates wanted to throw her out because it smelled horrible for 3 months. So just, balance the stuff out. Make sure you're not getting rats. Or you can there are a lot of composting services, Urban Canopy, Collective Resource, and more, who will come and pick up your organic waste. It costs $300 a year if you can afford it. That's another way you can make sure that the waste you're creating in your house goes back to create something good for the earth like compost.
Any extra tips for renters in big buildings like myself?
It depends on the relationship you have with your landlord. If your landlord is not doing this, you might want to politely remind them that the law says they have to provide a recycling service. If you are worried they're going to penalize you, then you might want to have a friend drop a dime on them. But basically, you can call 311 and say, X address does not have a contractor for recycling. And, if you have, a condo committee where everyone talks, say, hey guys, I'd love to be the chair of the recycling committee and have fun recycling information parties. Let's have a pizza and show everyone how to break down that pizza box.
Axios Chicago's writer Monica Eng, a recycle pizza party. That's what we got for y'all today. I appreciate you so much, Monica.
Thank you, Jacoby.
Now, that composting bit that Monica was talking about near the end is really important. Research estimates about a fifth of Chicago's waste is organic material that could be composted. Since we last talked, the city launched a free food scrap drop-off program. Basically, you sign up and you can bring your food scraps to one of the 15 sites, keeping them out of landfills. We've got a link in the show notes to learn more. And yes, composting, food scrap drop-off, kind of the same thing. They just, they want to scare people away. Before I let you go, for more news and events, head over to our website, chicago.citycast.fm. And if you like what you see while you're there, sign up to become an official CityCast Chicago member. Starting at just $8 a month, you can get ad-free listening and members-only updates. We got some real fun things coming out this year for members, so get tapped in now at membership.citycast.fm. you know I got some good news. Want to learn more about city government and even get paid to attend public meetings? Well, maybe you should consider City Bureau's Documenters program. They're hosting a Documenters orientation tonight at their Bronzeville office. I'll drop a link in the show notes for you. As always, we appreciate you for listening, reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow morning. Maybe bring a new friend with you, a new family member. Put somebody on CityCast Chicago, and we'll talk to all of y'all then. Peace.